Hi, I'm your instructor, James Akin, and today I want to teach you about grammar. Now, I know, grammar may not seem like the most exciting thing in the world, but that's because people, whenever they talk about it, they talk about it with the rules you got to use, and they talk about it like you have to obey certain rules in order to create good language. But that's not actually what grammar is. Grammar is a way of talking about language. It's how we talk about building meaning in a sentence. And if you don't know how to talk about grammar, then you don't really understand how we make meaning when we talk. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Come on. Okay, so the first thing you have to understand about grammar is that you actually already know it. You have an instinctive idea about how language works. You can use language. All you need are words to talk about how that works, to put that understanding into words. So in English, we have this very, very powerful set of terms that allow us to talk about meaning when we talk. So those are called the 8 parts of speech. And we're going to actually add another one to have 9 parts of speech. And the 9 parts of speech are pretty simple. You probably know some of them already. We have nouns, first of all, and we have verbs. Those are 2 of the most important parts of speech. If you understand how nouns and verbs work, then you pretty much have 80% of grammar. Then we have adjectives, which modify nouns. We have adverbs, which modify the verbs. And then we have pronouns, which also act like nouns. They're kind of plurals, like she, him, it. These are pronouns. We have prepositions that identify place. So on, over, through, under, this kind of thing. Those are prepositions. And then we have conjunctions that connect 2 words together. They have to be the same part of speech to connect them together. And then we have articles, which take the nouns and they make them more specific. So like this frog, that sheep, the person. These are all this, that, the. These are your articles because they actually specify what kind of a noun you're using. And finally, we have interjections. And interjections are pretty, we can cover them right now. It's dude, whoa, huzzah. These are all interjections. They're words that basically they express emotion. Anytime someone just says a word and it expresses emotion, that's an interjection. Okay, so in our parts of speech, we can also talk about how they interconnect. Now, like let's take nouns for example. Nouns, people will usually say that a noun is a person, place, or thing. Okay, well that kind of covers it, but what really helps us understand what a noun is to say how it can be used in a given sentence. So a noun can be a subject, it can be an object, and it can show possession, properly character, but Okay, so what is a subject and what is an object? The easiest way to understand a subject and an object is to use them with a verb. Remember, a verb is our second part of speech. So a verb shows action. So let's say talking. It's what I'm doing. I talk. Okay, well, I, that's your pronoun. Talk, that's your verb. And I is the subject of the verb. In this case, it's doing the verb. So I talk. James talks. I, James, those are your subjects for talk and talks. And notice that your verb, talk, changes based on whether it's I or James. So we're going to stick with the pronoun I, for example. So I talk, I run, I jump. These are all different versions of the verb talk, and they're all different versions of the word. Okay. So these are different verbs. Talk, run, jump, and they're all using the subject I. Now, let's say, let's take give. Let's take the verb give. So I give, right? Subject is I, your verb is give, and then an object for give will be what is being given. So I give a talk. I give a gift. I give, I don't know, a puppy. the puppy, gift, a talk, these are nouns, and they are acting as the object of the verb give. So I is your subject, give is your verb, and your different nouns are the objects after it. Now notice that the subject is in front of the verb and the objects are after. That's usually the case. It can show up differently. So take Yoda, for example, in Star Wars. You've got, let's see, what's a good example? So if Yoda were speaking, he would say, a talk give I. He's reversed it. So a talk, give, I. Now you've got your object in front of your verb, a talk, and your subject is after it. English can do this. It's not very typical. And this is what I mean by grammar is really how we talk about language. You understand Yoda when he says, if Yoda were to say, a talk, give, I. You don't understand what he's saying, but how can we describe how that's making sense? Well, that's grammar, okay? And in this case, we can talk about nouns and verbs and subjects and objects and all that kind of stuff. So this is really grammar. This is how grammar works. And in other talks, I'll get into all the other different parts of speech and we can talk about all the sort of ins and outs and how it goes. But that should give you a fairly good indication of what grammar is and how it can be used.